The first book I'm going to be talking about for my October wrap-up is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. I did only give this book 2.75 stars. In my reading journey, I guess you could say, this year, I'm pretty much going through my back catalog, so not only a lot of my physical TBR that I just haven't read, but a lot of books I've wanted to read for a long time, but for whatever reasons I just haven't. And with this one specifically, I was raised quite religiously and this book I was really intrigued in reading when I was younger, but because it's about, a fallen angel, I was very apprehensive to do so. But if you see my Twilight video, I say Stephanie Meyer set off a chain reaction of sexy, scary high school boys that just happen to be thousands of years old or hundreds. And this is one of them. This one very much gave me those vibes. He refused to leave her alone despite always warning her to do so. So that was just one of those books. And yeah, I'm realizing a lot of my TBR is YA, so I'm running through them, and the writing's not the best, and the overall story and plot isn't the best, but it was just, I'm glad I got to read it. Next, I am continuing on my journey in reading The Mortal Instruments and reading Cassandra Clare. I read City of Glass, Clockwork Angel, and then City of Fallen Angels. I gave City of Glass 3.5 stars. It was this book where it was if I'm not liking it more than the other two, I'm just gonna stop. But I did like this one more. Admittedly, I don't necessarily or thinking about it, I do remember what happens, but not in a lot of detail. Honestly, the biggest thing that stuck out to me, which spoiler alert, was Max, who is Isabel and Alex's younger brother. He was killed by Sebastian, and I just feel death of incredibly young children characters that are in a YA series is just unnecessary. I'm if no one else is really dying, that's a main character, and it's just adjacent to the main characters dying, and their child at that, I'm why would you write that? I just don't understand that. I understand that in order to make a villain, Sebastian, look worse than he actually, or to reveal just how evil he is, you would do that, but I just, with it being young adult, I just don't really understand. And then, like I said, next I read Clockwork Angel. I gave this one a 3.5 stars as well. I liked the change in the story, the new characters. Obviously they're still shadow hunters, but how it's just different. And then how, what is her name, Tessa, she's a warlock and a downworlder, and she's not a shadow hunter, and I thought that was interesting. I really appreciated that. And I can't lie, I do like Tessa, I like Jem, but Will's kind of annoying. I'm gonna read the other two, but yeah, it wasn't bad. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this trilogy specifically. And then with City of Fallen Angels, this one I only gave 2 stars. It was getting on my nerves. The book was getting on my nerves. I listened to the audiobook only with this one, and I can't lie, it was really annoying how the narrator had an accent, but then when he was doing the voices, he didn't. I'm can we pick one, please? And the main reason that I was just so frustrated with the story was the whole thing with Jace, and I understand because he was reborn, he had to redo his protective things or whatever, but just with how kind of everything happens at the end, and then there's Lilith, and she's this big bad monster, but or big bad demon, but then she's killed like that, and then she was trying to bring Sebastian back, and then all this stuff, and then freaking he ends up coming back anyway, and he took over Jace, and I'm oh my gosh, that is just very annoying to me. I don't know why. I just don't like tropes like that. I'm gonna keep reading, but I'm definitely taking a break because I just don't want to be that irritated. And then next I read Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I made a video about how I read it for the first time. I gave it 3 stars. Go check out that video if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts. And then again, I read Bunny by Mona Wad. I prefer it like this. I like seeing the spine on my shelf, so I made a video about it if you want to hear me talk about it. It's just one of my favorite books ever. And yeah, next I read David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I gave this book 4 stars. It was very much good. I love the way Charles Dickens writes. It is a little it does drag at times in my opinion, and that's why it got 4 stars and not 5. But he's an amazing writer. Obviously this is considered a classic, so, and yeah, I'm like, can we start having books have covers like this again, like the soft back, I don't know what it's called, but like the cover is on the book itself and not like the dust jacket. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that would be better for the environment. But I'm not going to be trying to talk about anything I don't know about, but this is what I think. There's this very cute note at the beginning of this edition that says, "To know and to love David is to know and to love Dickens." And I think that is very cute and sweet because yeah, it is essentially somewhat autobiographical. It's like every character in this book can be traced back to someone in Charles Dickens' life, and obviously David is similar to Charles. In knowing that while reading the story, it's really sweet because David is just such a sweetheart and he's so cute. Like how Steerforth calls him Daisy. I'm like, that's so cute. But yeah, this was a very good book. I'm gonna continue just trying to read more classics in general, but specifically Charles Dickens because I really like his writing style. And I've said this before, but we are currently in these times in a Dickensian era similar to when he was alive, so it's relatable for sure. He lived from 1812 to 1870, so 200 years ago, and we're going through similar stuff. Goodness gracious. Next, I read The Making of Biblical Women, How the Subjugation of Women Became Gospel Truth by Beth Allison Barr. I gave this book 5 stars. It is a new favorite for me. It's written by a Christian woman who is, I believe, a scholar, and she's just talking about the history of Christianity and how, especially like in current day, it's nearly like a lot of, not all, but a lot of like religious teaching is like women are servants, women are to be subjugated, we're lesser than men, and that is simply not true. And this book very much proves this point. And yeah, I read it because of Manifest L. She's another YouTuber, and it is so good. Whenever I can, I'm gonna buy my own copy and read it again because it is so good. If you have religious trauma, especially if you're a woman, I would highly recommend this book. Next, I finished the Ruby Red trilogy. I read Sapphire Blue and Emerald Green by Kirsten Gear. The covers are super cool. But unfortunately, both these books got a 2.75 from me. In this one, I honestly don't remember what happens. I feel like it's more just like relationship drama that happens. There's a few things that move on with like the time traveling plot, but in all honesty, I feel like it kind of takes a back seat to the romance, which is a choice, definitely. Again, I like zoom through these books and they're YA, so I don't remember everything that happens, but it's like pretty much the culmination of everything that has been building up in these last 2 books happens in this book, and like they all take place over like a week. I'm like, that I just didn't like. And Gwen, she does like step up in doing more and being more active in the story, but it is pretty annoying when like, even yes, she is 16, she's only a 16-year-old, she's only a teenager, but it's like with the things that are going on, her like she hasn't really matured, in my opinion. Like she becomes a little bit more like sneaky with it, but a lot of it really just falls on Gideon to do whatever he does, and it was just kind of like, I'm just happy the books are over. I wish there was more put on like the time traveling and all that stuff, but it is what it is. Next, I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, by Miss Colleen Hoover. I gave this book 1 star. I made a video about it if you want to watch it. Yeah. Next, I read Universal Harvester by John Darnell. I gave this book 3.25 stars. Ghost in the Stacks is a booktuber who made a video about this book, and because of that video I wanted to read it, and I started reading it like with the audiobook and like an ebook, but then I wanted to buy it, so then I did, but then it took me forever to pick it back up again, and I only just this month like made myself finish and read it, because it starts off really strong in my opinion, and it like in a way that I like, where not a whole lot is happening, but like the writing's good and like you like the characters and like the setting, but as the story goes on it kind of just like opens up in a way that doesn't really make sense in my opinion. And the main reason it has the rating it does is because of the writing. There were like a few moments that like drag, or like I kind of had to like reread, but overall, as you can see by the tabs, there are some bars in this book, and it's just like, this man is a very good writer, and I want to read Wolf in White Van. I thought it was The Wolf, but Wolf in White Van by him as well, just so I can read more of his writing, because it is very good, and I can't lie, this cover is super cool. Next, I read Hope in the Dark by Rebecca Solnit. I gave this book 5 stars as well. It's just a nonfiction. It was originally an essay that she wrote after 9/11, but just how like when things seem so dire and hopeless that even in saying like the future is dark, that's kind of a good thing, because it's open for anything to happen, and good or bad, and in hoping and wishing for the good, that it's almost like, you know, more likely to happen. Something I'm finding about just reading nonfiction in general is that it obviously there's so many different topics that can be written about, that it really helps in like soothing my anxiety about things that are going on in the world. But yeah, it's just a very good book about how, you know, no matter how hopeless it seems, there are always people who you don't see, that you don't hear, that are working to make a change, and I want to be a part of those people. It's just about never lose hope, never give up, always persist, and stay determined. Next, I read Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This book got 5 stars from me. By the time this wrap up comes out, this book, or a video about this book, should be out, so check it out. But yes, I liked this more than The Way of Kings, but because I looked it up, it's supposed to be like a freaking 10-book series. I'm like, what? I don't want to read Oathbringer yet. I don't want to read Rhythms of War yet. I want to like always have like 2 books to read. I don't know why, but yeah, this like has a good like ending point, and yeah, it's like the size of 3 books. So I'm like, I've read a lot. I'm rereading Mistborn, and then I'll come back to the Stormlight Archive eventually, but I'm taking a break after this one. Next, I read Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I hate this book. My hate read video on it should be out by the time this is out as well. You can check it out if you want. This book got 1 star. If I could burn this book, I would, but I won't. That's why I got it from the library. Use your libraries. The last novel I read in the month of October was The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It's definitely more refreshing for a YA and all that I've read this month. And yeah, this is another one that's in my TBR back catalog. It had me intrigued. I couldn't tell you the amount of times I tried to start reading this book and I just didn't finish it, but finally I pushed myself through, and I thought it was really good, honestly. I've already started, and I've already finished the next one, but it's technically November now, so it'll be in the November wrap up. But yeah, I'm going to very quickly read the rest of the series, and I'm very excited but also nervous for what is going to happen. But yes, I really like the characters. I really like the writing. It's a good time. It's a fun time. And then for the manga I read this month, I lied last month and I said I was gonna read more manga this month. I did not. I don't know why. But I finished volume 10 and volume 11 of Toileban Hanako-kun, one of my favorite series. It's just about a ghost and his friends and a school and the 7 mysteries in the school and just all this stuff. And yeah, at this point in the story, it is picking up and it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's still like lighthearted and funny. But yeah, good. I literally cried reading this, so yeah, if you're interested in a new manga and you want something a little out there, I would recommend Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. And I also read the first volume of Horimiya. I love Horimiya so much. I've watched the anime and I've read this multiple times, so I think that's why it took me so long to read. It's just so cute. It's so cute. It's so funny, and I'm excited to keep going with the series. And then the books I DNFed this month. I am honestly really ashamed. I try not to DNF books. I don't know why. I just don't like DNFing. I'm like, I'd rather push myself to finish a book than DNF it. But I'm realizing that part of the reason why I like fell into a reading slump for like multiple years is because there were so many books I was like forcing myself to read that I shouldn't have been. And so that's something I'm trying to do more, is just DNF when I'm not motivated to finish or I'm not interested. The first book I DNF'd was How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. There is a Mono Wad blurb on here, and I think that's probably the main reason why I decided to pick it up. And the concept is interesting, but I read it once before just listening to the audiobook. I literally got 66% of the way in and I just stopped. And I was like, I'll pick it up again. I'll get it from the library. I'll try to read it. I made it, I think, to part 2, and I was just like, I really don't care to keep going. The concept is interesting, but like the delivery is it just kind of falls flat for me. I don't want to say it was boring because it wasn't boring, but it just wasn't doing what I thought it was doing, and it was going a little too slow for what was happening, and so I was just like, I can't do it, so I DNF'd it. But yeah, it is what it is. And then I DNF'd The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Now, this book I've read and finished before. I literally had to read it in high school. Books and Lala, she just recently read this book, and in watching her talk about it and explain what she thought reading it and all that stuff, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to finish it again. I thought it was it's good writing and I don't hate it, but I just didn't feel the need or the want to push myself through and finish it, especially when I've read it before. But this one I wasn't feeling so upset that I DNF'd it, but I was a little I guess I'll DNF it. But yeah, that's it. Those are all the books, I think. Yes, those are all the books I finished in the month of October, and the manga as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me and hear how good of a singer I am, you can check out my music channel and original music, all under the name of Shy Fighter. If you want to subscribe if you want to subscribe. I don't know, do whatever you would like to do, and I will see you when I see you. Farewell.